Welcome to this edition of Just Parlays. I'm Jim Williams, along with my partner in crime, the man, the legend, the king of the ice, Chris King. Chris, how are you, buddy?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Good. Good night for you and for anybody who listened to you, as you should always. On the ice last night, how about you got the Penguins and you got the Ducks coming through for you?
No, it was the Penguins and the Leafs.
It was the Leafs, I'm sorry.
It was nice to see Pittsburgh come back. I know a lot of people were worried when they went down 3-1 to the Blues, but the problem with Pittsburgh is they're a dangerous team. They can roll four lines at you and they'll wear you down, and that's what happened in the third period of that game last night. As for Edmonton, I was worried that they were going to go over the total with the way it was in the first period, when it was 2-2, but Edmonton didn't score the rest of the way, and one bad miscue in the third period led to a power play goal by Ilya Mikheyev, and then they scored in the empty net to ice it away in the last 15 seconds. But it was an entertaining game, despite the fact that there was no crowd noise whatsoever.
Right. Yeah, it was. They played at the Ice House, or the Glass House, I should say, in Pittsburgh, and that was cool. And we're going to see the Pens again later in the picks for today. But before we get started, which we will go to. We're going to go to a game with the right stuff. But first, we're going to talk about our sponsor, our friends from Caesars Sportsbook. Now, what we would like you to do out there, and, you guys have been really good to us, and Caesars wants to be good to you on our behalf. And what they want to do is, for those of you who are making your first wager either using their app or their online service, they want to match every one of those bets all the way up to $1,000, okay? So what you're going to want to do is you have to use the code Video Winners, all right? That's our specific code for Winners and Whiners. So because they like us here at Winners and Whiners, if you use that code Video Winners when you make your first bet, then you will get that free money where they will actually match your bet all the way up to $1,000, okay? Now, two quick things. All the information is in the show box below, and obviously this is only good in the states where Caesars has the sports book at this point in time. And we also want to point out you have to be over 21 to make a wager, all right? So those are the things you need to know, but all of it's going to be in the show box below. Please check it out. Our friends at Caesars Sportsbook and the friends at Caesars Sportsbook, along with all of us at Winners and Whiners, say bet responsibly, okay? It's important that you remember that. Now, we're going to go from Caesars Sportsbook, where you can check out the odds for these games, to our first game, which is Wright State.
Yeah, that's a Horizon League matchup, Jim. Like you said, in Ohio, Wright State favored over the University of Illinois Chicago. UIC comes in 4-7. They are coming in off a 1-point win in their last game. Wright State is 6-7, but they've won four in a row, and that includes an impressive double-digit road win at North Carolina State. UIC is not a big offensive team. They're 277th in scoring offense at 67.7 points a game. They're 237th in field goal percentage at 43%. They can't shoot from three, and they're even worse at the free throw line, ranking 339th at 64.2%. Wright State will run you into the ground, which is typical of a lot of these smaller conference teams. They're 36th in adjusted tempo at better than 72 possessions a game. UIC is 212th in that metric. Wright State, importantly, too, is 11th in the nation at the free throw line, shooting better than 78%, so they can put the game away at the stripe late if it matters. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, UIC is 4-10 against the spread in their last 14 on the road, 2-5 against the spread in their last 7 overall, 2-5 in their last 7 on the road against teams with a winning home record, and 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 against teams with a losing straight-up record. I look for Wright State playing at home to make it 5 straight wins and evening their record on the year at 7-7 as they douse the Flames in Ohio.
In Ohio. I've got to say that in all the years I've watched basketball, whether it's pro basketball, college basketball, high school basketball for that matter, it absolutely drives me nuts when people can't hit free throws. It's like, there you are. It is called a free throw. Nobody is contesting you. And I used to, when Rick Barry used to do the underhand, and Will Chamberlain did the underhand, and
unfortunately, he didn't shoot as well as Rick Barry.
No, that's true. But people would laugh at it. It's like, yeah, you may laugh at it, but Barry's up at the 80% mark and hitting free throw. So maybe you should think about that. So anyway, all right, we leave the state of Ohio and we go to the Big Ten, where there's a Big Ten matchup tonight that includes the Maryland Terrapins.
Yeah, the Terps are going to go on the road. They're going to face an Illinois team that we told you Tuesday night that you should take, as they rolled all over Minnesota 76-53 on the road. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Maryland was on the road Monday at Iowa and fell 80-75, dropping to 8-5 on the season. Illinois is 10-3. Illinois 6-1 at home this year. That loss to Iowa was Maryland's first true road game of the season, which doesn't bode well when you're going into Big Ten play. Illinois got the edge on both ends of the floor. I mean, let's be honest. They're 25th in scoring offense. They average better than 80 points a game. Maryland is 208th. They average 70.7. On the defensive end of the floor, Illinois is 95th in scoring defense, giving up 64.6 points a game. Maryland 147th at 66.9. Illinois is 10th in the nation, shooting 39.9% from beyond the arc. Maryland 250th when it comes to defending the three. Now, we talked about this with Minnesota the other night. They didn't have the size to stop Kofi Cockburn. He went for 29-10 in that win. Qudus Wahab, Jim, you saw him play at Georgetown.
Right.
I mean, he's 6'11 and 240, but Cockburn being 7 foot and, like I said, a biscuit short of 300 pounds, can Wahab slow Cockburn down any better than Eric Curry and Minnesota tried to do the other night?
No.
Well, there you go, folks. Jim Williams, your best color commentator in sports shows today. That broadcasting school really paid off.
All those years, I'm happy to have that degree, which is not hanging on the wall behind me, but nevertheless.
But yeah, if Wahab can't stop Cockburn, I mean, Maryland doesn't force a lot of turnovers, which has been Illinois' Achilles heel this season. Maryland is just 306th in the nation when it comes to forcing turnovers. So if Illinois takes care of the ball, you have to think they're going to have a pretty easy time here. Maryland 1-6 against the spread in their last 7 after an ATS win. Illinois 5-0 in their last 5 as a favorite, 6-1 in their last 7 overall, 5-1 in their last 6 after an ATS win. Illinois has too many weapons, and if Wahab either A, gets in foul trouble, or B, can't stop Cockburn at all, it's going to be a long night in Champaign for the visiting Terps. Look for the Fighting Illini to take care of business here and roll on to another win as they improve to 11-3 on the year and pick up their let's see, what'll put them in the conference that will move them to 4-0 in the Big Ten with a game against Nebraska next Tuesday.
Yeah. Wahab's problem is not, he says he's not a physical guy. He's more of a finesse guy, and more Dirk Nowitzki, I guess would be the best way of putting it. So he's not going to body up against Cockburn. It's just not going to happen. So Illinois should have no trouble in the paint with them at this point in time. And it's the Terps are really more of a perimeter team anyway. They don't go inside to score points. They live and die, and as of late, more die than live on the outside of the arc. So if the ball's not falling, it's going to be a hard and a long night for.
Now, Jim, will Maryland give Manning a fair shot? Is he going to stay the head coach after this season? Is he just going to be the interim guy after Turgeon left? I mean, what's the situation there?
I think that's. I will say this: the athletic department would like him to be the guy. I'll put it that way. So he's going to be given every opportunity to get that job. Now, I will say this for Danny Manning. He did a really good job of recruiting for them, and I think that bodes well for him staying. But at the end of the day, if he shows them that the team is headed in an upward direction, then I think there'll be every reason to let him stay. And because I do think that the University of Maryland's athletic department would love to keep him, but at the end of the day, you have to justify wins and losses, and he could still end up not having the Terps could not have a good year and not make the tournament, but maybe Danny still survives. I would think if to assure himself of surviving, having a decent record, winning record at the end of the season would be helpful to doing that. But we'll see. But as you know, they'd like to keep him. So we'll see.
Works for me.
Yeah. Moving on, we go
to a game that not too many people are paying attention to up in the America East Conference. Vermont is at home against New Hampshire. Now, Vermont's favored by 10.5 points, but don't let that number scare you too much. Again, New Hampshire's 5-4, Vermont's 8-4, but let's look at the teams that these teams have played. Vermont has beaten Yale, Dartmouth, and Brown, and Northern Iowa. Those are 3 teams out of the Ivy League and a pretty good mid-major in the Panthers from the Missouri Valley. Meanwhile, New Hampshire's best win this season came over Quinnipiac. Kudos if you know where Quinnipiac is. I'll tell you they play in the Metro Atlantic.
Let's take a poll.
Yeah, we'll take a poll. Who knows where Quinnipiac is? They're ranked 233rd in the KenPom rankings. New Hampshire has 2 wins. 2 of their other wins are over teams ranked 330th or lower in the KenPom rankings. Their other 2 wins against non-Division I programs. Vermont is very good on the defensive end of the floor. John Becker's team 26th in the nation in scoring defense, giving up 60.1 points a game. They hold opposing teams to 40.7% from the floor, 30.9% from 3. This is going to be one of those typical slow-down games because neither team runs all that much. New Hampshire 347th in adjusted tempo. They actually hold the ball the longest per possession, holding the ball on average of 21.4 seconds per trip. Meanwhile, Vermont 289th at 66.4 possessions a game. Vermont's gone 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 on Thursday. They're 4-0-1 in the last 5 meetings, or the home team's 4-0-1 in the last 5 meetings between these teams. Vermont has won the last 13 matchups between these teams and 18 of the last 19. And like I said, if you're worried about that double-digit number, take note that each of the last 7 wins by the Catamounts and 17 of the last 21 games in this series have been decided by at least 11 points. You have to think playing at home, and given how poorly New Hampshire has played when it comes to going on the road to Vermont, which is a hostile environment anyway.
Right.
They seem to go to Vermont every year to get their butts kicked, and then they go back to New Hampshire. At least it's a short trip. At least it's a short trip, but, Vermont's going to extend their winning ways by getting the win here to get their 9th win of the season.
Vermont, Vermont, I'll say this for them. They do have good crowds. They really represent. They show up. It's not a big building. It seats like about 3,000 or so, maybe 4,000. And they really play a fantastic they're tough at home because the crowd loves it. I mean, the crowd is into it. They go in and they're boisterous and they're loud. So that does bode well for them. One quick thing I saw Northern Iowa up there. Northern Iowa has a very interesting situation. They actually have a building that they play in, which is, it's not a big building, but it's like about a 10, maybe a 20,000 seat building. And they play football and basketball in it, much like the Carrier Dome. Only it's like a miniature version of the Carrier Dome. So I had to do a basketball game up there one time. And just to prove to you how far north Northern Iowa is, we made what we thought was just a small wrong turn, went about 10 miles. We were in Rochester, Minnesota. So it does. If you're going to the Mayo Clinic,
you were there where Oakland was.
Yeah, we now know where Oakland and the Mayo Clinic is in Rochester, Minnesota. But yeah, Northern Iowa is in the northern part of Iowa, so we know that much. Anyway, not to worry about that. Vermont will, cover the 10.5.
Yeah, one last thing to throw in about Vermont, Jim. Yeah. Not only were you right about the size of the Patrick Gymnasium, 3,266. Vermont is actually the 3rd most experienced team as far as returning personnel this season, as their players average 2.85 years of experience. The only teams ahead of them, 2 other mid-major programs, Cleveland State of the Horizon, we've talked about them before, Manhattan Jaspers of the MAC.
Okay, yeah. How about that? All right, well, that concludes our trip down basketball lane, and we head over to the ice now, right?
Righto. But real quick, let's welcome Paul, who just found our show a couple days ago, and he enjoys it. Paul, we're glad we're here. We're glad you're here. Hope you come back on a regular basis. We're here every day, Monday to Friday.
That's right. We're contractually obligated, Paul. We're happy to be here.
And David, no, Quinnipiac was not in Ohio. In case you were wondering, it's in Hamden, Connecticut.
Right. And it's known for its polls.
Yeah, they take polls as to whether they actually want to feel like playing or not.
Yeah, that's true. That's part of the poll. But that's Quinnipiac's analytics department has been for many, many years one of the most trusted political polling operations in the business. So that's what we've been joking about, the polls of Quinnipiac. Mispronounced it. My apologies. All right. Meanwhile, back to the ranch on the Devils and the Blue Jackets, and welcome to all of you out there.
Right.
If you're out there, one quick thing. Sorry, Chris.
Go ahead, Jim.
No, go ahead to hit that like button and the subscribe button. So mash it. It's all right there for you. If you're watching us, obviously not on YouTube. If you're not, then smashing a button is not going to help. Just go on Facebook and hit the like, Twitch on the like, and follow us on Twitter. So we got plenty of options there. But if you are watching on YouTube, go ahead, wander over and smash that like button. We'd greatly appreciate it. And now back to Mr. King.
Right. This game coming to you from the Prudential Center. It's the front half of a home-and-home set they'll play Saturday at the Nationwide Arena in Columbus. Columbus 15-15-1 this season. New Jersey 13-16-5. However, Columbus has been brutal on the road. They're 5-10 this season. New Jersey 8-7-3 at home. Columbus averages just 2.8 goals per game on the road this season, while they give up more than 4 goals a night. They're coming in off back-to-back games where they gave 7 goals to Carolina and Tampa Bay to start the 2022 calendar year. Elvis Merzlikins will not be in net tonight. It'll be Joonas Korpisalo, 3-5-0 with a 4.14 goals against and an 8.81 save percentage. Mackenzie Blackwood, 8-7-3 with a 3.32 goals against and an 8.95 save percentage and 2 shutouts in the net for the Devils. Columbus 1-6 in their last 7 on one-day arrest. They've lost their last 4 games against Eastern Conference opponents, and they've lost their last 4 against Metropolitan Division teams, which doesn't help you when you're trying to chase down a playoff spot. Mm-hmm. Finally, the favorite has won 9 of the last 11 matchups. So you have to back the Devils here. You know, they've started to play some decent hockey, and with Columbus surrendering 14 goals in the last 2 games, you have to wonder, are they going to be able to slow down New Jersey, who nobody thinks is an offensive powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination?
Right.
But if teams are torching you for 7, it doesn't matter. Even a bad team can get 3 or 4.
Right. These are 2 teams that have had success in the past, but they just are, they're languishing. I mean, the past couple of years, they just haven't been up to their normal standards.
Yeah, I think New Jersey, they've had issues with, they sign guys to ridiculous contracts. And then, going back to Kovalchuk when he signed,
right,
and then, bailed.
Mm-hmm.
And, Columbus, they seem to trade a lot of guys. Look at some of the talent they've traded out. They traded Artemi Panarin. Matt Duchene's been traded. Seth Jones left.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so it's not the same team, and you have to wonder why the Blue Jackets are so cheap.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll find out. But, yeah, those are 2 teams that have played very well in the past, and the past couple of years, not so much. But tonight, the sun is smiling on New Jersey. And
that never happens. So
it's like, it's only sunny in Philadelphia. That's right. So we'll go from there. All right. From Jersey and Columbus, we head to
Colorado, the Ball Arena.
Rocky Mountain High.
I still like it when it was the Pepsi Center. I don't know why they had to change the name again. You can go either way. The money line's kind of prohibitive, but if you want to go the puck line, that's up there too. Either way, I like them over the Jets. Winnipeg is 16-11-5 this season. Colorado 19-8-2. The Jets beat our favorite team, as our buddy Euler will tell you, the Arizona Cactus 3-1 on the road the other night.
Right.
Meanwhile, Colorado beat Chicago 4-3 in overtime. And I don't know if you saw that game-winning goal in overtime by Cale Makar, Jim.
I saw highlights of it.
Yeah, that was quite a performance there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Colorado is 11-2-1 at home this season. Winnipeg 6-5-4 on the road. I know that the Jets have played better under Dave Lowry, but they're facing a Colorado team that averages 4.21 goals a night. That number goes up to 4.64 goals per game at the Ball Arena. They only allow 2.64 goals a game at home. So they win on home ice by an average of 2 goals a night. Meanwhile, Winnipeg averages 2.6 goals per game on the road and give up 3. The Jets 3-7 in their last 10 as a road underdog, 3-8 in their last 11 as an underdog overall. Meanwhile, Colorado 10-2 in their last 12 against the Western Conference. They're 41-13 in their last 54 at home. And the Avalanche have taken 6 of the last 7 meetings between the teams here in the Rocky Mountains. Winnipeg 1-4 in the last 5 meetings overall. I get that the Jets have played better under Dave Lowry since Paul Maurice said that it was time to step down. Mm-hmm. But the way Colorado scores and the way that they played of late, Winnipeg's not going to slow them down here. Look for the Avalanche to prevail at home and keep on rolling.
Yeah, it's a game between two teams who are part of the Rocky Mountain system there. You got Winnipeg in the Canadian Rockies, you got Colorado in the American Rockies, and it's an interesting. That's an interesting thing because you've got the money line and the puck line. If you had to pick one of the two, which would you pick?
I'd probably lean towards the puck line just because I don't want to have to throw out extra money to get back money on the money line. Normally, I don't put up numbers that are that high, but right. I know sometimes people are leery because of the fact of having to win by multiple goals. But like I said, Colorado average is better than 4.6 goals a game on home ice, so you have to like the way that their chances of covering at home there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, from Colorado we go
to Tampa Bay.
Amalie Arena.
Yep, the Amalie Arena, the Lightning, they're a fairly solid favorite over the Calgary Flames. The Flames 17-8-6, Tampa Bay 22-8-5. We backed the Flames the other day, and they tanked us when they lost to Florida 6-2. Tampa Bay blew out Columbus 7-2 on the road Tuesday night. Tampa Bay is 11-3-3 on home ice. Calgary 13-5-2 on the road. Should be a good goaltending matchup. Jacob Markstrom 12-7-5 with a 215 goals against and 5 shutouts against everybody's favorite Vezina Trophy winner, Andrei Vasilevsky, 18-5-3 with a 221 goals against and a 924 save percentage. Tampa Bay's gone 7-2 in their last 9 after a win. They've gone 6-2 in their last 8 against Western Conference teams. Meanwhile, Calgary has dropped their last 5 against teams with a winning record. They've dropped their last 5 against playing on one-day arrest. They're 0-4 in their last 4 when their opponent gave up 2 goals or less. And Tampa Bay has won the last 4 meetings between these teams. After seeing Calgary get in a track meet basically with Florida, the shots were 49-45 in that game in favor of the Flames. But they were shut down by Sergei Bobrovsky, who had a big night in net, stopping 47 shots. Now you have to face a guy who's got multiple Vezinas and multiple Stanley Cup rings in Vasilevsky. And we know how well he is at how well he plays at the Amalie Arena. You have to think Tampa Bay gets the victory here and leaves the Flames
doused.
Yeah, watered down.
Watered down, right? Vasilevsky. This is only about his second or third game back, right?
Yeah, he came back in the game against Columbus on Tuesday night.
Yeah. So. Man, I'll tell you what, Calgary's probably going, we can't get away from Florida and these Russian goalkeepers. I mean, it's like, just get us out of town, get us back home. But,
Yeah, get back to Cowtown where they won't have any fans probably either.
Yeah, that's true. Well, at least from that standpoint, nobody can boo you. All
that's
right,
true.
Moving on. We go.
Yep, we're going to go to the NBA now.
Association. All right.
Yep. Some exciting stuff there. An Atlantic Division tilt coming to you from Madison Square Garden. The New York Knicks, light underdog against the Boston Celtics. Both teams come in 18-20 as they battle down there near the playoff cut line for the play-in tournament. Right. Boston played yesterday. They lost 99-97 at home to San Antonio. So they're playing a second game of back-to-back here. The Knicks beat Indiana 104-94 Tuesday night. We always tell you fade the Pacers. That panned out there. Boston 7-12 on the road this season. They're 23rd in field goal percentage at 44.3%, 24th in three-point shooting at 33.3%. Meanwhile, they face a Knicks team. they don't score a lot, but they play good defense. They're third in field goal percentage at 43.8%. They're 15th in three-point defense. Boston has gone 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 on the road. They're 0-5 in their last 5 against teams with a losing straight-up record. How can you not beat teams that have a losing record? Anyway, Boston 0-4 in their last 4 as a favorite, and the Knicks are 4-1 against the spread in their last 5 after scoring at least 100 points. We saw Julius Randle came out of the protocols the other day for the Knicks, had a big game. Jason Tatum's out of the protocols for Boston. Boston should be relatively healthy, but playing the second game of back-to-back doesn't necessarily agree with anyone at this time of year. And the Knicks have played better since Christmas. I like the Knicks with the points here at home for Coach Tom Thibodeau.
It's funny. The Knicks have been playing better over the last month. So, it's
they started strong, then they hit that lull.
Yeah,
now they're playing a little better again.
Yeah, they're back. They're back playing pretty decent. In Boston, for whatever reason, I mean, look at that. There's that line that you have there that the Celtics are 23rd in field goal percentage. When have you seen a Boston Celtics team shoot that poorly?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is the fact that some of it's just shot selection, because if you look at some of the things they fire up on a regular basis, some of those shots, you don't even shoot those if the shot clock's running out. I mean,
maybe in horse.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look, like I said, they're shooting 33% from 3. They're taking over 36 3-pointers a game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at some of these field goal percentage. Tatum is shooting 41.3%. Marcus Smart 39.8%. Schroeder shooting 43%. Al Horford 43.4%. Josh Richardson 46.5%. I mean, the only guy that really has a decent shooting percentage, Jaylen Brown's at 45.7%. But you got Robert Williams, but he shoots 74%, but he only shoots 6 times a game because he can't shoot outside of about 5 feet.
Well, we'll just hope for the best and think that the Knicks can get by tonight. All they have to do is win by a bucket, and they're in. So
they can even lose by a bucket. Well, no, if they lose by a bucket, they lose.
They got points. Well, all right. We'll tell you what. Let's say they win by a bucket. That'll make it easier.
That works too.
All right. Moving on from MSG to the Grizzlies and Pistons.
Yep, Memphis is down in Bluff City. The Pistons 7-29. Memphis 25-14. Remember, they started the year really slow. They've really turned it on of late. Detroit, they're playing the second game of back-to-back. We thought that they were going to play better than they were going to last night against Charlotte. Instead, they were obliterated. 140-111. Charlotte shot 59.3% from the floor. They hit a franchise record 24 threes out of 42 attempts, so they shot 57.1% from beyond the arc. When you're getting torched like that, it doesn't bode well for you. Memphis, they won 6 in a row. They beat Cleveland 110-106 on the road Tuesday. They're 5th in the league in scoring offense at 111.3 points a game. They're first in rebounding at 47.7 boards a night. Meanwhile, Detroit, 29th in scoring, 101.4 points a game. They're 29th in field goal percentage, 41.6. They're 29th in three-point shooting, 31.5%. They don't have Jeremy Grant. They don't have Kelly Olynyk. You're putting a lot of pressure on guys like Sadiq Bey and Cade Cunningham to try and keep that team afloat. You can do it in spurts, but you're not going to do it against a team like Memphis that has a ton of depth and has, of course, John Moran at point guard.
Right.
Detroit 1-4 against the spread in their last 5 after scoring 100 points or more. Memphis 5-1 in their last 6 overall. 4-1 in their last 5 after a straight-up win. 4-1 in their last 5 on Thursday. Detroit 1-4 against the spread in the last 5 meetings. After getting thrashed by 29 points by the Hornets. And let's face it, like we said yesterday, Charlotte had been favored. That was just the 8th time in 39 games that the Hornets were favored all season. I don't have any faith in the Pistons here going to Memphis, playing the second game of a back-to-back against a good Grizzlies team. Look for Memphis. They won't beat them the way that they beat Oklahoma City earlier this season, but they'll cover the line and get the win at the FedEx Forum.
Yeah, you brought up that point about that 3-point shooting stat, right? In the 50s. it's considered really good if you're in the mid 40s.
Right.
So, you hit in the 50s. I mean, man, that basket must have looked like it was 10-foot across.
Yeah, it's basically like throwing a Nerf ball into a hula hoop.
Right. Wow, that's an amazing stat. Okay, from Beale Street, we head to
The desert.
the desert. Yeah.
The Valley of the Sun, the Phoenix Suns Arena, or the Footprints Arena, or whatever they want to call it, this stupid thing.
Either way, yes.
Either way, the Phoenix is favored by 11 over the Clippers. The Clippers, a 500 team at 19-19. Phoenix 29-8. They're tied with Golden State atop both the Pacific Division and the Western Conference. The Clippers coming in off a 122-104 loss to Minnesota Monday at home. The Suns beat the Pelicans 123-110 on the road Tuesday. Phoenix, they're third in the league, in scoring offense at 112.6 points per game. They're fifth in scoring defense. The Clippers, they can hang defensively. They're seventh in scoring defense at 105.7 points per game, but they're just 24th in scoring offense at 105.5. You have to remember, too, Paul George still out with that torn UCL. If this was baseball, he'd have Tommy John surgery. I guess in basketball, he can come back in a few weeks. Kawhi Leonard also out, obviously, still for the Clips. So you're taking away two guys that combined for nearly 50 points a game last year from that team. The Clippers 6-13 in their last 19 after scoring at least 100, 1-10 in their last 11 on 2 days of rest. Phoenix 4-1 in their last 5 at home against teams with a losing road record, and 7-2 in their last 9 when their opponent gives up 100 points or more in their last game. You have to like Phoenix, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, look, it looks to me, and I could be wrong, but it looks to me like the two best teams in basketball, forget the divisions, are Golden State and Phoenix. I mean, they just keep rolling out every night and playing. They're just balling out. Even hell, what was it? We had Golden State win a couple nights ago, and Golden State won, and they didn't get much in the way of scoring from Steph Curry. But
right, they didn't last night either, and that's why they lost.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, these two teams are, a little cut above, I think, of anybody in basketball. I haven't really seen anybody that can hang with either of these teams when they're on.
Well, I mean, Utah is a good team, and I think the Bulls are playing some good basketball too. I mean, some of that's playing in the Eastern Conference where, there's a lot of lousy teams, but those two teams are probably right below where I would put Golden State and Phoenix. Mm-hmm. But those are teams that can make some noise too.
Well, yeah, you're right. And
DeMar DeRozan's played some great basketball over there in Chicago after everybody thought he was kind of done after playing in San Antonio and everything.
And Billy Donovan's got a good job of coaching.
That's true.
And Utah,
I mean, he's getting production out of Lonzo Ball. I mean, that's saying something.
Yeah, that's amazing. But the key to me is that Utah. I didn't put Utah in there. I probably should have, because Utah has hung with both those two teams over the last year and a half. They've done well. So didn't mean to slight Utah. I just think right now Phoenix and Golden State are playing better. That's all. But,
I won't disagree with that. But I mean, you have to give Utah a lot of credit. Last night they went into Denver. Mm-hmm. They played without Joe Ingles, who was the first player all season for Utah to go into the COVID protocols. Mm-hmm. They were without Rudy Gobert, who had shoulder inflammation. They were without Hassan Whiteside, who missed his third straight game with a concussion. Jeez. And instead, Bojan Bogdanovic scored 36, and they beat the Nuggets in Denver.
It's funny. There was a question on TNT's halftime show where they asked Chuck which Bogdanovic did he like, the one in Utah or the one in Atlanta? And he said, which one's the tallest? And so he said, it's the guy in Atlanta. So he goes, oh, that's the one I like. So.
I saw Danny Rouillet asked him that too.
Yeah, Danny did. Yeah,
Chuck, it's Chuck.
Chuck on Chuck, Anyway, before we get to two for the money, which is what we're going to be going to next, let's talk a little bit about our sponsor, Caesar Sportsbook. The people at Caesar Sportsbook want you to make your first wager with them. And because you watch us and everything we do here at Winners and Whiners, they're going to give you a cool deal. Now, when you make your first wager on either their app or on their online service, and you use the promo code Video Winners, they're going to match every dollar that you bet on your first wager all the way up to $1,000. Okay, so that, my friends, is a very good deal. You can just enjoy all the information that Caesars gives you on their Caesars Sportsbook, and all the information is in our show box below. So here's what you do: you go to Caesars Sportsbook or the app, you make your first wager with them, and if you use the promo code, and it's the only way you can get the deal, which is Video Winners, then they'll match your bet every dollar up to $1,000. You have to be 21 years or older to play. And of course, this only is valid in states where Caesars Sportsbook is licensed, and that, of course, is in the show box below. They'll give you all that information. And as we said earlier, both Caesars as well as Winners and Whiners want you to gamble responsibly. Do not bet, the farm, to coin a phrase. Just bet responsibly, okay? But by all means, take advantage of what Caesars is offering. Chris, that's a pretty good deal. Whenever
it is. I mean, you can't go wrong with doubling what your investment is. I mean, like we said, if somebody had done that with Illinois the other day, they could have been twice as happy as they would have been if they put the bet down in the first place.
Right. The family would have been pleased. Okay, so we go on to 2 for the money, and tonight our 2 for the money is
brought to you by no one, because nobody bothered to sponsor it. Anyway, like we said, Vermont minus 10.5 over New Hampshire. You have to think that, given the fact that New Hampshire goes to Vermont, gets their butt kicked, goes back home, and they've done it. They've gone up on the short end 13 straight times. The last 5 meetings in Vermont have been decided by an average of 17 points in favor of the Catamounts. I look for them to convincingly dispatch the Wildcats back to, I don't even remember what New Hampshire's state nickname is, but they send them back there anyway. And then we said Colorado, you can take it either way. If you want to take the money line, you can go that route. If you want to take the puck line, whatever works for you. I know some people are skittish about having to win by multiple goals, but either way, they'll beat Winnipeg at home. Or if you don't want to go that route, like we said, Tampa Bay over Calgary. Vasilevsky plays very well at the Amalie Arena. Tampa Bay scored 7 goals against Columbus the other night, and we saw Calgary get whacked 6-2 by the Panthers. Flames don't have the offensive depth to try and play the track meet style that they did against Florida. Yeah, they took 49 shots, but only 2 found the back of the net. And finally, the Suns minus 11 over the Clippers. Like we said, the Clippers don't have Paul George. They don't have Kawhi Leonard. They don't have Isaiah Hartenstein now. Like, that's a major factor. Also out for the Clips would be Nick Batum is questionable. Luke Kennard is also out, as is Avika Zubac. Look for the Suns to prevail at home and move back, at least probably temporarily, into first place by themselves in the Pacific Division and the Western Conference. Because we'll get to that in a minute.
All right, moving on from 2 for the money, let's go for 4 for the show.
Right, and we've got Memphis, like we just said, minus 12.5 over Detroit. After the Pistons were throttled by 29 points and gave up 140 to Charlotte last night, you have to think that Memphis, who's won 6 straight, has the talent to come up with the win. Florida, minus 135 over Dallas. The Panthers have played well of late. They scored 6 against Calgary. They've won 4 straight. Dallas hasn't played since December 18th. So keep that in mind. The Stars haven't played in nearly 3 weeks due to COVID issues. You have to wonder how long it'll take them to knock the rust off. And when they knock it off, how far behind will they be at that point? Bobrovsky and net for Florida. Braden Holtby slated to take the nets for the Stars. We said at the top of the show, Wright State over UIC. Wright State's won 4 in a row. They beat NC State on the road by 14. They're at home here. The Flames aren't that great, and they don't play well on the road. In fact, the Flames come into this one a dismal, let's see, where did I put them? Got so many tabs open here. There are 500 teams supposedly on the road, but that's because they played a bunch of neutral games. Wright State 4-1 at home. Look for the Raiders there. And like we said, Illinois -11 over Maryland. We told you Illinois would beat Minnesota the other day. They won by 23. Now they're at home as opposed to on the road against a Maryland team that lost their lone road game this season. The Terps, Jim says Wahab can't contain Cockburn. So if Illinois doesn't cover, it's his fault.
I accept that responsibility.
And bad news for those of you out there. I see there's a bunch of people asking about IUPUI. Their game with Northern Kentucky today canceled due to COVID protocols. IUPUI's next chance to take the floor will come Saturday as they travel to face the Wright State Raiders.
You know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make a phone call and see if we can get someone from IUPUI to join us in the next week or so, because they're not playing basketball for a while, and see what we can do, because we clearly have a lot of fans here who are IUPUI fans.
Well, their coach is Matt Crenshaw. If you can get him.
Yeah, we'll look. I'm not sure the coach is going to come up, but we'll try. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but I think, maybe we can even get some of the head of the Alumni Association for IUPUI come on to tell us about the school, to give us, a little bit more. But
good news for you Jaguar fans. Not only do they play Saturday against Wright State, as of right now, they also play UIC on Monday, and they play at Green Bay on Thursday before traveling to face Milwaukee next Saturday.
Wow.
So 4 potential games in an 8-day span for those of you looking to chase down the IUPUI Jaguars, where they haven't played since that 80-52 loss at home to Morehead State, which was the first time that they had gone over the total all season long.
There you go. All right. Well, here's the good one. This is the part that we all love to watch. Chris, I'll let you explain why this is such a fun one.
Well, we always tell you it's fun because, we give you 10 other options beyond the ones that we've already talked about for the most part, or that we didn't put in our top choices. But that doesn't mean that they're bad games. They're just ones that, don't have don't reach the same level of awesomeness as the others. You can pick 2, you can pick 4, you can mix them in with the other ones if you want. Whatever works for you. Some people like to pick them all. I call those people masochists. But
and losers.
Yeah, because I'm not going to tell you that we hit all 10. We tend to hit between. We tend to hit between 6 and 8 normally.
Yeah.
But so go ahead and pick which ones speak to you the most. Mm-hmm. For us here, and we're going to start with Big Ten action. Indiana favored by 3.5 over Ohio State. This game at the Assembly Hall in Bloomington. The Hoosiers, they've got their big front line led by Trace Jackson Davis and Race Thompson. Kyle Young is questionable for Ohio State. If he doesn't play, that's going to be a big blow for the Buckeyes. Either way, playing at Assembly Hall, and Jim, you can attest to this from doing broadcasts there.
Yeah,
it can get loud in Assembly Hall when the home team's playing well.
Yeah.
And Mike Woodson's done a great job with his alma mater there.
Also, it's hot for some reason. That building gets real warm real fast, and it tends to take a toll on the other team. But a lot of that has to do with Indiana playing good basketball.
Well, there you go. So don't wear a winter jacket if you're going to Bloomington.
That's right. No, wear the winter jacket. Just don't wear it inside the building because it's cold outside. All right. The Badgers.
Yeah, Wisconsin, I faded them the other day against Purdue. They went on the road. They beat the Boilermakers in Mackey Arena. They're at home tonight against Iowa. Let's face it, Iowa, they're good at one thing. They're good at offense. Nobody counts on them defensively. Mm-hmm. Keegan Murray, everybody talks about he's a front runner for Player of the Year in the Big Ten. He got stifled by Cockburn a couple weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Now he's got to deal with Johnny Davis and the 57-year-old senior Brad Davison. Those guys aren't going to lose at the Kohl Center. You have to think that place is going to be loud too. Mm-hmm. Look for the Badgers -3. Washington State. I forgot to put the state in there because I was trying to put this together quickly before the show. They're a 1.5-point underdog on the road at Colorado, but the Buffaloes, they haven't played since December 19th. You think they're going to be rusty there? Tad Boyle, he's got a good team, but Washington State's played some good basketball. I like the Cougars there. SMU, Tim Jankovic has done a great job with the Mustangs. Take them with the points on the road over Cincinnati. I can't figure out the Bearcats. They play decent basketball, and then they turn in a couple of crap performances. And, it's not the kind of consistency you used to see. I mean, they're coming off an 8-point loss at home to Tulane. When's the last time that anybody talked about the Green Wave as being a big force in basketball? I know Ron Hunter's there. He was fortunate after, he left Georgia State. Mm-hmm. But come on, Tulane's 5-7. 5-7. And you lose at home.
To Tulane.
Yeah, you can't be considered – I can't take you seriously when you lose to Tulane. No. The Rangers, I like plus 125 on the road at Vegas. Like we said before, Mark Stone, Max Pacioretty, both out for Vegas. Even if Robin Leonard starts in goal, you have to like Igor Shesterkin in the pipes for the Rangers. Pittsburgh, they're playing the second game of back-to-back. They're a rather prohibitive favorite. They rallied to beat St. Louis last night, so if you were here with us then, good for you if you bet on Pittsburgh. I don't think they'll have any problem with a Flyers team that has no consistency whatsoever. They can't do anything when it comes to putting together consistent performances. Carter Hart is supposed to be a net for the Flyers. That doesn't mean anything here.
Blackhawks.
Yeah, and the exciting game that we didn't talk about because this game is so bad that, between two teams that can't score, it's the Blackhawks and the Coyotes in the desert. There'll probably be about 12 people in attendance because the Suns are at home. I like the Blackhawks on the road. Arizona, we've talked about it. I don't know how many times this season. They can't score. They don't score at home. Finally, the Devils over the Blue Jackets, the Knicks over the Celtics, and the Pelicans. This was at 2.5. I haven't checked it, I should say, to see if that line's changed. Steph Curry is reportedly thinking that he's not optimistic about playing tonight with a quad injury. He's marked as doubtful now. He was questionable earlier. Otto Porter also questionable, as is Andre Iguodala. If you're going to jump on this one, I would jump soon because if they determine that Curry isn't going to play at all, that number is going to shift.
Yeah.
Curry didn't look good last night. He was 5 of 24 in that 99-82 loss to the Mavericks. And the last time we saw the Warriors play the second game of back-to-back, they beat Boston 111-107 December 17th. They played the Raptors the next night, and Steve Kerr rested pretty much everybody, and they got waxed by 19. You have to think that he might be leaning that route here. So if you can get points with the Pelicans, I know they haven't been great this season, but I would take it because I think that, they can surprise people. They started horribly, but they played some better basketball of late. They've been about a 500 team over the last 6 weeks. Well, and if you start 1-12 or 2-12 or 2-14 or whatever they did, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and you got to feel that, playing at home is definitely an advantage. And if Golden State's, wounded, definitely take advantage of them when they're not, not at full strength. That would be the good time to go and grab yourself some food down there on, down in the French Quarter and enjoy a good basketball game and perhaps even a good Pelican win.
Yep, and just to touch on a couple of these things that people are asking about us in the chat, Jim.
Sure.
SMU, Daryl, we just talked about. I like SMU plus 2.5 points against Cincinnati. Like we said, the Bearcats just lost to Tulane. That tells me everything I need to know about them. Mm-hmm. And the Mustangs, I think they're underrated. Long Beach State, UCLA. Jim, what do you think about that? UCLA, obviously, they haven't played in the
UCLA up, given away.
I mean, UCLA is giving 26, 27 points, and they haven't played in like 3 weeks.
They must be playing at Westwood, right?
Yeah, they're playing up there at the Pauley Pavilion.
All right. So yeah, I would not. I'd take Long Beach State. I'm not that. I don't. UCLA's good. They're very good. But 26 points. What do you think, Chris? That's a lot of points to give up to the Long Beach is not a bad basketball team.
Yeah, I mean they're not a bad basketball team, and you have to figure, like I said, the last time UCLA took the floor was December 11th. I mean, we're talking 3.5 weeks now. That's a long stretch where you haven't played basketball.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you Long Beach State's going to win the game. I mean, they're 4-7, and their best win was a neutral floor win over Wright State. But they've hung decent. They lost to USC by 11. UCLA beat them by 21 in the first meeting this season because apparently they played in mid-November. But 26 points is a lot, especially when you're dealing with a team that hasn't played basketball in close to a month now. I would probably lean towards taking the points just because we don't know what you can expect from UCLA right now.
I mean, they're going to play well, but how well, I don't know.
And let's not forget, Long Beach State, coached by Dan Monson, who started his basketball career as a head coach at Gonzaga before Mark Few took over when he took the Minnesota job in 2000.
Who would have thought, right, that the two best basketball teams in Los Angeles would be UCLA and USC instead of the Clippers and the Lakers?
Yeah.
That would not have been on my radar screen, but they definitely play well. Long Beach State has played, they play a very competitive schedule. They really do. But
yeah, they're not playing. I know we pick on Gene Smith a lot, but they're not playing the Little Sisters of the Poor.
Right. Man, 26 points to UCLA. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, like we said, they only lost by 21 in the first meeting, and now they've actually been playing basketball while UCLA hasn't played in 3.5 weeks.
Right. That's it. I'm like UCLA is going to win. But
I'm not going to doubt that, but I don't think they'll cover here.
Yeah, that's a lot of points.
And Daryl, your other question about Tarleton State. Now, Jim, I don't know if you know what you know about Tarleton State other than they're in Texas.
You just said it. I have no idea else other than that. Anyway.
Coached by former Texas A&M coach Billy Gillespie.
Really? Oh, okay.
The Tarleton State Texans. They're 6-9 this season. They're coming off a 22-point loss at Utah Valley, but before that, they had won 5 of 6, including beating our favorite team, Dallas Christian, who Texas A&M said would beat them by $3 billion. But they also had beaten South Alabama, Air Force, and Dixie State. They're playing Sam Houston State tonight.
That's a weird combination of teams to play.
Yeah, a couple of teams they're coming out of the WAC.
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess it is whack when you watch those teams play.
Yeah.
Sam Houston State, they've won 3 straight. In regards to the total, it's pretty low. It's coming in at about 124. I mean, I know that, when you look at the numbers, Tarleton State's good defensively. They don't score a lot of points. They only average 63.2 points, and they give up 63.4. Sam Houston averages 73.5. I think if I had to lean one way or the other, I'd lean towards that one barely going over the total.
Well, but, they both play in the 60s, right?
Well, Sam Houston State averages 73.5. They give up 67.
So you're right. I mean, maybe it would maybe 2 or 3, maybe 5 points push it over the top. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see it getting above 130 or so, but I could see it probably getting past 124.
I don't. I would. I'm not sure I would even bet on it, but if I did, it would definitely be on the over, not on anything else. I would.
Yeah, if I were the game itself, I'd probably lean Tarleton State. They're 5-1 at home. Right. Sam Houston State 0-4 on the road this season.
Well, that's a good one.
And lastly, I saw somebody asked about Montana, the good old Montana Grizzlies out there in the Big Sky are facing Eastern Washington on the road. It's going to be a tough game. I mean, let's face it, the Eagles, I mean, they're not the same team they were last year after the Groves transferred to Portland and, Shantae Liggins left. But, I mean,
we had Eastern Washington a couple times last week.
Yeah. Montana, they're coming off back-to-back wins. They beat Idaho State. They beat Weber State. They've also beaten Air Force. On the road, though, they're just 1-5. The Grizzlies lost to Mississippi State. They lost to North Dakota. They were bombed by Oregon. They lost to North Colorado, and they lost to Santa Clara. Meanwhile, Eastern Washington at home is 1-1, 2-1. They're only 2-1. They've only played 3 home games. Their loss was to Southern Utah. They have wins over 2 non-Division I teams. It's going to be an interesting game over there in Cheney. I mean, I know that Montana has been a force to be reckoned with in the Big Sky for several seasons now. But given 3 points, it might be a little bit shaky. No, it's down to 2.5 now, but still, Montana 1-5 on the road compared to 9-0 at home. I might lean Eastern Washington with the points.
Right, they're like home cooking in Montana.
Yeah,
I don't think you go ahead and do that. I wouldn't touch it personally, just me. But you said the two wins they had at home were over.
Over non-D1 teams. I mean, but they've been playing on the road against everybody. They played at Nevada. They played at UC Davis.
Yeah,
they faced Texas State on a neutral floor. But, I mean, if you look, they've beaten some decent teams on the road. They beat Northern Arizona. They beat Portland State. They beat North Dakota. They beat Nebraska, Omaha. Heck, this is an Eastern Washington team.
Either, really.
Yeah, this is an Eastern Washington team that beat Washington State in Pullman.
Okay, then you've convinced me. Take the points and go with Eastern Washington.
I know we're talking about teams that, like we said, people don't talk about, but these are teams asking about. We talk about games that other people don't. I mean, where else are you going to get people talking about IUPUI for crying out loud? Right. You're going to have Steve and Reichel talk about them.
Who would spend the last 3.5 minutes talking about Montana?
True. North Dakota against Nebraska, Omaha. I know North Dakota. They've struggled. The Fighting Hawks. They're 4-10. I faded Omaha twice. They panned out once. The other time they screwed me over because they upset Western Illinois. But let's face it, Nebraska Omaha is still the 3rd worst team in the nation in scoring defense. And opposing teams shoot 46.9% from the floor, 37.7% from 3, and they beat the crap out of the Mavericks on the glass. I like that North Dakota's an underdog here. I mean, they struggle defensively too, but they're better offensively than Omaha. If I was playing that, I would take North Dakota and the 3. I get that the Fighting Hawks, they're 0-7 on the road. But let's face it, the Mavericks are 2-5 at home. So nobody's going to put a ton of faith in them.
Right.
I would go with North Dakota +3 in that contest.
That's, like you said, where else are you going to find this information, folks?
Like Marv Levy would say, where else would you rather be than right here, right now?
Mm-hmm.
Because nobody else is going to answer your questions about these horrible games that people don't even know are on the schedule probably.
Well, one person's horrible game is another person's homecoming. So yeah.
That's true.
So, and being a fan of USF, I can't really be too I can't be too uppity in this particular situation because USF might need to play a lot of our Sisters of the Poor teams too.
Their defense didn't show up yesterday. I was surprised that Houston's hung 83 points, given the missing pieces that they have.
Well, that's because they left with 3 minutes left to go in the game. They just figured, we'll just leave that 83 points on the board and go.
But I mean, South Florida started strong in that game. They were up 11-2, 3.5 minutes into the game.
I don't get too excited when they take a lead like that, Chris. It's not how you start, brother. It's how you finish.
That's true, and they finished with a thud.
Right. The Yingling Center is not. There's a reason why it's sponsored by a beer company. There's a lot of crying in the beer that goes on there.
I see a whopping 2,291 people turned out for that game yesterday in a building that seats 10,411.
It's a beautiful arena, I will say that. The interesting thing is that the women's team is, in the top 25 and has done very well for themselves. So you're going to see more people go watch the women's team than going to watch the men's team at this point. Yeah,
and they actually went over the total in that game with just under 7 minutes to play. The total was 121.5. It was 69-53 with 6:40 to go.
There you go. Well, all right. Anything else before we want to move on there, boss?
No, I think that covers it.
You got them all? Okay, good.
Yep. Daryl, we'll cover the FCS title game in college football. We'll talk about that tomorrow, not North Dakota State, Montana State. Ought to be an exciting matchup.
Again?
That's the college football championship of the FCS.
No, what I'm saying, North Dakota State again?
Yep, and Montana State.
My goodness, they're like the Alabama of that division. It's like,
yeah, I mean they had a good game against James Madison a couple weeks ago. I thought James Madison was going to pull it out, but they fell apart down the stretch, and the Dukes couldn't close things when it mattered.
well,
That was 3 weeks ago.
North Dakota has been there and done that for a number of years.
Yep, and Montana State. I mean, they're 12-2 on the year. The Bison 13-1. I mean, you're looking at a pretty good matchup. But I think, like you said, North Dakota has been there, done that. They've got plenty of experience when it comes to.
They had like 3 or 4 not in a row, but like they had like 1, 2 in a row. Then they missed one, and then they came back another time. I mean, they've been there quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, they just keep seeming to churn out winners there.
It's the only NCAA football championship.
Yeah.
Because the other one is, of course, the CFP, and it has nothing to do with the NCAA. So there you go. We'll be watching that championship game come tomorrow. So yeah, for sure. All right, in a half an hour or so, they'll be back to the window with the boys. Almost said Steve and Steve again, but it's not. It's Scott and Scott. Not to be confused with Steve and Steve. They'll be with us on the Winners and Whiners Sports Betting Network coming up at 3 o'clock as they take you back to the window. For Chris King, I'm Jim Williams saying thanks so very much for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you again sometime tomorrow right here on Just Parlays.